Hi, and welcome to Tutors for Turtles. In this lesson, we'll be going back to school in a classroom environment, as you can see, and I'll try my best to give you a holistic overview on Xcode 4.6.1 by less than 10 minutes. Now, as you can see here, I'm zooming into the whiteboard. I have my lesson plan consisting of short 4 points. First of all, we'll look at the different templates, then the working environments in Xcode in terms of navigators, utilities, and objects, and eventually how to build and run an application. Alright then, let's start by Xcode overview. And since this is the first week of April, the latest version is 4.6.1. Xcode is a group of tools developed by Apple that allows you to create applications and games for iPad, iPhone, and Mac computers. To start developing, you need to download Xcode SDK, which is free from the Mac App Store, and you need to have Mac OS X on your computer. Alright then, let's get down to business. If I browse here to my Xcode icon and I click it, I'll be running the main Xcode console. At the beginning of every new Xcode project, you need to go to File, New, Project, and define the template that you are going to use. Let's go through these templates in a very brief way. The master detail application, you use it in order to create a project that has menus and navigation controllers that can also split the view. The OpenGL game, you use it in order to create actually games, but it's a set of functions that is written in the C language, and still you need to program your games using the Objective-C, so you better be good in Objective-C language, and use OpenGL to help you render and draw better optimized shapes. The page-based application, this is, you use it if you want to create a book-like application with buttons for navigations or a manual or training materials. The single view application, this is what I'll be using for demonstration, and usually it helps you get started if you need to create a web page like application with limited number of pages and navigations. It will come with pre-built view controllers, xib, .h, and .m files. We'll go through these later on in this tutorial. The tabbed application, we use it to create an application from a template that uses tab bar controllers. This is ideal for web browsing applications. Utility applications help you develop apps that will actually communicate with the iPhone or iPad kernel to optimize their performance, such as the battery status, displaying, camera, etc. Empty application is an empty template where you can develop any of the above, but from a fresh perspective. So at this time, I will click on the single application view and go to the next. Okay, now and after we covered the different templates that can be used in Xcode, let's have a look at the actual development environment. So here, the product name, this is the project name, and I'm gonna call it test 55, and I hit the next. Here we have to choose the location where we want to save our project, and I'm gonna keep it on the desktop and hit the create button. Alright, so this is the main window for the Xcode development. On the left we can see the file management, and this is where I can create and manage my files. In the middle here, this is the main display area, and to the right we have on the top the properties that will help me customize our objects, and here I can add from the object library any objects I want. Believe it or not, this is the simplified working environments in Xcode. So at this point we're gonna go through the navigators, utilities, and objects. So if we go back to the project navigator here and we click on the main icon of the project, you can see the summary, and this I covered it in my last lesson, where you can actually change the orientation and add icons for users when they want to download your projects from the App Store, or even when you want to simulate it. Now, the info and build setting right here, info and build settings, will have very important information on the application parameters so that it can be uploaded and built successfully for running and simulating later on. Now, the build phases and the build rules, they help keep track of your project resources and sources. So if we go back to the project navigator here, I see that because I chose a single view project from the templates, all of these folders and files have been created automatically. But the most important files that we will concentrate on this lesson are the viewcontroller.h. This is the header file where you create all your variables and classes and you declare them. And the viewcontroller.m. This is the Objective-C implementation file. You can actually initialize variables and add functions. In other words, add your entire code. And this is, you will tell the application what to do. And by the way, these two files, the viewcontroller.m and the viewcontroller.h, are the ones that controls the main storyboard underscore ipad.storyboard, or of course the main storyboard underscore iphone.storyboard. But since I'm using here my application to develop a project for the iPad, so this is what I'll be focusing on. Alright, since the viewcontroller.m and the viewcontroller.h and the main storyboard underscore ipad.storyboard are very important, I'll show you a small example in order to understand the concepts better. Now, let's say if you want to add a code to display a group of images. I'm gonna open here a project that I've already done, and I'm gonna show it to you. If you go to the viewcontroller.m, this is where you actually add the code. I just created an array and I added the images inside. And the viewcontroller.h, I just declared the animation. And in the main storyboard underscore ipad.storyboard, I just added the actual image right here. So if we go and run this one here, and if I go to the view controller, I can see my array playing. It's just a group of images going over each other. Alright, if we go back to the file management here, we have also a couple of extra options next to the project navigator, such as the symbol navigator that shows you a list of functions, variables inside your project. I'm not gonna go through the rest because they are not important at this part of the introductory level. If we go to the other side of the right side of our window, we can see that we have the utilities, and these utilities are extremely important in order to build your project. So if we are in the main storyboard here, and let's say we wanted to add a simple button or a label. So if we go to the objects here and we choose, let's say, a round rectangle, we have to double click on the view controller first, and we drag and drop this button. Now, as you can see here, this is the utilities, and it will show you the attribute of this button. So you can change the font color, background, text color, all kind of attributes that you might think of. Alright, so navigators. We spoke about the project navigators in much details, and the symbol navigator as well. As for the utilities, we said they are the attribute inspector that help us change objects and their properties, and eventually the objects that are a group of tools that help us build our main view controller. And now, after you add your objects on your view controller, you just have to go ahead and run it. Your button is right here. Of course, the last step is to build and run, and if it installs successfully, you will be able to preview your project.